And joining us now will be Tom Rieber, local author, and who doesn't love a good mystery? Tom, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
We're very glad to have you here. We are so eager to learn about Nick Thomas Mystery Series. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started in writing.
Well, my mother always said I was a good teller of tales, even when I was young. And as I was growing up, I always wanted to write, and I wrote short stories when I was in grade school and in college, and I found that I had a talent for it, and I really enjoyed spinning a story and creating a character. So, you know, that's where it all started. You know, I didn't write seriously until many years later, but you know, I started young, and I still have stories that I revived that I wrote when I was a teenager.
So you've always had a love of the words, so to speak.
Oh, I do. I was a reader when I was young, and you know, that was something my mother instilled in me. And I always love a good book. You know, I read constantly. I usually have 2 or 3 going at a time now. Well,
I can remember growing up in the summer, I would read a book a day. So, yeah. And probably about 80% of them were mysteries. And so tell us a little bit about this new book. And it's not your first book.
No.
And but this is, which number book is this? How many have you written?
This is number 1 in the Nick Thomas series.
In the Nick Thomas series.
And when I started writing this was 18 years ago. I bought my first computer and decided my life had changed at that point. I had hit some rough patches in my life and became sober and learned to be a little bit more responsible in my life. And I said I had to chase my dream, or else I would never go after it. And that was writing. So I bought my first computer and I started with maybe a journal. And then Nick was born, more of an alter ego character for me, because Nick is a hybrid of me and who I'd like to be, and out of that character started growing a story. You know, I don't usually write from an outline. I create the character, then all of a sudden I strap myself in and take a ride with it. And from there, other characters grow, the story grows, and there's twists and turns, and it's been a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm sure it has been. Now, and I know that you're originally from Connecticut.
Yes.
And your character, Nick Thomas, is from Cape Cod.
Correct.
Now, will Nick Thomas be making the move to Brunswick County?
Oh, certainly. Well, the little backstory on that is that my wife and I lived in Connecticut, and we had a place on Cape Cod, and that was our first love for many years. And that's where I started writing the book. And so that's where Nick started. Then we traded our snowblower in for golf clubs and sunblock, and decided to move south somewhere. And we, through a series of strange events, we ended up in Brunswick County, which is probably the most wonderful place on earth that I think. And so I wanted to keep Nick where he was to start with, but in the second book, The Devil's Parody, that I'm writing now, he's going to be moving down here to North Carolina.
Very good.
So, you know, I can bring in the local flavor, as I've done with Cape Cod.
Wonderful. Now, if our viewers are interested in getting a copy of the book, where can they go purchase that?
Well, I've been fortunate. I'm nationally published. It's you can get it on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. You can go to my website, nickthomasmysteries.com, and you get a signed copy that way. In any of the local bookstores, you know, the Pelican, the El Bookworm, you know, Sunset Marketplace, Silver Coast Winery, a lot of the places carry my books.
Very good. Now, what else would you like to tease our viewers with the upcoming book?
Well, Nick is a modern day hero. But he's believable. You know, when I started writing, Nick was everything I wasn't. He was a, ex-Green Beret, ex-cop, could killed with a newspaper or a paperclip. And when I started writing the book, I realized that wasn't me. It was something that, I couldn't write credibly about. So I kind of brought it into, he's a modern day guy. Nick is a mystery writer who lives in Cape Cod, and he writes a mystery series. And his character, Eddie Kane, really helps Nick through some of his dilemmas. Like in the first book, Nick gets framed for the murder of his ex-wife and her business partner. And it's a very multi-layered plot But it also has some morals to the story, too, that a man can come up. Nick was a recovering alcoholic, hit bottom, his life was a mess, and all of a sudden, through some fortuitous events, changed his life and started living his dream, as I have. And he started writing, becoming successful, met his soulmate, but then all of a sudden gets caught in a very bad situation. The cops are after him, the killers are after him, and he digs down, takes on the persona of his character to help solve the crime before he gets arrested or killed himself. And in the second book, there's also another moral, but it's very exciting. I like to write with a lot of twists and turns, and Nick's not a killer. I mean, he's not going to shoot anybody with a Glock, but he's very resourceful, and he's got a lot of characters around him that are very resourceful. So it's an interesting read.
Well, I was going to say, it sounds like a great summer read. So hopefully our viewers will go out and pick up The Nine Irony by Tom Rieber, who lives in Ocean Isle Beach with his beautiful wife, Kibby. Tom, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, Kathy, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And when the next book comes out, we'll bring you back on.
Okay, I look forward to it.
Thank you. And joining us next will be Marianne Azzato from Silver Coast Winery.